One of the most amazing shooting displays I have ever seen in person.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. They had, I think Purdue had 16 made threes in the first half.
Wow.
First half.
Was Rutgers playing poor defense or was
Wasn't great.
Okay.
It was not great.
All right.
Defense definitely lacked.
Yeah. We never really talked about in person the last time the bad loss that they had in the buzzer beater, and then Heichel just letting them fly in the postgame.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when that was going on? He's dropping F-bomb after F-bomb.
Nothing. Honestly, nothing, because you could see when the ball goes through the hoop, he just the disbelief. Also, there were things that happened on that play that should have been called that weren't. So, like, he was beyond ticked off. Also, that game would have meant a lot. So when he comes out, and I've done this 9 years, he's never, ever, ever done anything like that before. The best part of it, though, is my engineer, Paul Schrager, who, puts the fader up here. Steve Mikal, you can sit back for a couple minutes. And the first F-bomb flies. He explodes out of his chair.
You're like Eddie when he moves.
Yeah, yes. Like when I played the clip by mistake, I think the same day, as a matter of fact, or the day before, with Adam Shine, whatever. And the look on his face is like, what do we do? I'm like, he won't do it again. And then he did it again. And then again. And it was just, it's live radio, and it kind of is what it is. I know the guys dumped it, but it got through on the stream, so be it. But, those things, go Eddie.
Yeah,
that was Paul. That was
right,
Paul last
CBS
week.
Sports Network showing Eddie over and over again, rushing for the dump button.
But the game's amazing. Whether it's the Knicks, whether it's Rutgers, whether it's St. John's, it doesn't matter who it is. It's amazing to me, having watched basketball, and even last night to a certain degree, where the Knicks just got outshot, in my opinion. And I watched a very long highlight, about a 30-minute highlight reel this morning. I don't know that they necessarily played terribly, and no Karl Anthony Towns, but it's amazing to me in basketball, and you've seen it long enough. A team can just not miss for a quarter or a half or whatever the stretch is, and then all of a sudden, it's like the little gods come down, and they put saran wrap on the hoop. And no matter what you do and how open the ball just doesn't go in. It really is fascinating.
Well, especially now where it's just like three-point shot after three-point shot, even in college. I mean, St. John's doesn't play that way, but most of the good teams in college basketball are hurling up threes all the time. And, that's why we always joke around about the silly phrase of it's a make-or-miss league. But
it's true.
Like, obviously it is, but that's really what it is. I mean, it's not like, a team is going to play great defense and generally win in the regular season when it comes to the NBA. And last night, that game sucked. It just sucked. Everything about it sucked. And then Tom Thibodeau at the press conference basically comes out and says that they didn't have any energy coming out of halftime.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem. It made me worry a little bit because the way that they played and the way that he sounded made me think that something worse is going on with Karl Anthony Towns than is they're leading on.
Well, it was a personal reason, if I read it correctly. And then the fact that they say he might not even join them for the trip. I shouldn't say won't be on the trip, but might not go with them when they first leave. That is concerning because he's a huge part of this.
Well, of course, but the way, I don't know, the demeanor of the team and then the way he spoke, it was as if they got some really bad information before they played that game.
You mean like injury information?
Maybe.
He said personal reasons.
Well, you got to remember, he was dealing with the knee thing.
No, I know.
And they love, it's not as clandestine as the NHL injury stuff is, but with the NBA and the Knicks in particular have liked to, maneuver around the real injuries and put certain things out there. And this guy's getting a rest day, but he's dealing with a knee, or this guy's, just sitting today, but he actually has an injury we don't want to tell you about. Like the Mitchell Robinsons, he's going to come back, he's not going to come back. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to hide something. I just couldn't figure out. I don't know. Still this is happening with guys that I feel like are 50 years old, where LeBron James comes into the Garden and dominates, and now Steph Curry does it again. And you would think that these guys, even without Karl Anthony Towns, would at least show more effort than they did, and the coach even comes out and admits it. And then if you hear him, like I heard the Marco Belletti cut this morning a couple of times, and Tibbs is the guy's not going out there and giving a one-man show. He's not, John Leguizamo in his post-game press conferences, but he sounded more down than ever. Like, he just sounded lifeless. And I'm thinking, what? This can't just be your normal regular season lull. Something else has to be going on. And then you look into the Karl Anthony Towns, like, I hope to God it is not something serious. But I was just trying to put two and two together and why things felt the way they did last night.
Well, I didn't think so. It was the Boston game where they were getting blown out and he goes back to the locker room. Now, to me, I didn't think it was a big deal because it was Towns that came out after the game and said, I went back there because they made me go back there.
Yeah.
Go back there. He said he felt fine. And when he came out, I was going back on the floor. So to me, I didn't think it was an issue at all. It's interesting you bring that up because they do put personal reasons, not injury, but it does make sense that that could be part of the issue. The thing about the Knicks, though, that is so bizarre when you watch them, there have been times this year where I have watched that team and I say, this team is ready to win an NBA championship. The Cavaliers and the Celtics be damned. And then yet they go out there and they play the Celtics and they play the Cavaliers and they play the Thunder and they don't look like they're on the same level. Then they have games like last night. No Towns, I get it. They have games like last night where, to me, again, they were outshot. The fourth quarter was lousy. But then you're coming off the weekend where they have the 2 road wins. Now, I know the Grizzlies and the Heat aren't great teams, but winning on the road's hard. And they won 2 good road games. That's a weird one last night. And they've had a very strange, even Brandon BT's been on it. Like, it doesn't, to him, feel like a championship team. And every time I disagree with him, they throw in a game like this. And it's like, yeah, something just seems a little off about them.
Yeah, and it sort of felt that way for the entire year. And anytime you feel really good about them, they run into one of those good teams and don't even compete.
Yep, exactly.
And I don't know if I felt better about last year's team winning a championship. I don't think that I did. I mean, I felt better about last year's team's resilience and ability to battle, and I felt like, man, they could really beat anybody if they are able to score the way they need to because they're just playing better defense than everybody else. But this team, I don't think that they're capable of beating the Celtics in the second round.
But here's my question, because every time I have the conversation with someone and I bring up the fact that they don't play defense the way they did, it's always the response is, but wait till the playoffs. Is it that?
I've said that
too. Can you flip a switch like that and all of a sudden become this lockdown defense? Because some of the pieces from last year, it's not the same. Things. I know Mitchell Robinson's is back, but this is a little bit of a different team now, and you're asking a couple of guys that maybe weren't known to be defensive guys to now be defensive guys when the playoffs begins.
Maybe, but that's not been the Tibbs mindset or MO while he's been a coach. They've always played better defense during the regular season than everybody,
right,
and they haven't done it this year. And also a thing that scared me, too, because I had that same mentality and that same thought process when you get to the playoffs, it'll be different. It's a different game in the playoffs. But then when the Celtics, the last blowout that they had, they to a man after that game said, we find a different gear when we play the Knicks, meaning that they're playing the type of game they would play in the playoffs against the Knicks, I think for a number of reasons. The first being that, after Mikal Bridges and after the Karl Anthony Towns acquisitions, everybody was all over the Knicks.
100%.
And thinking, they could be a championship team and the odds and everything, and they just wanted to squash that because they were the defending champs.
Right here.
Yeah.
I absolutely. And when this team was put in place and made complete, I looked at them and said, like I just said to you, the Celtics and the Cavs be damned. I thought that this was the best team in the Eastern Conference. 100%. I'm kind of in that crowd.
Yeah, and then the Celtics are hearing that stuff and thinking, who the hell are they? They haven't won a goddamn thing. We're the defending champs. Shut up. And I mentioned Mikal Bridges. That guy he is like bordering on stiff territory.
Let me ask you something, because I'm glad you brought that up. Think about what they gave up for him.
They held on to those first-round picks like they were clutching a rosary in a casket. And then finally decided to part with them.
Yeah.
And then they did it for him, who I'm not saying he doesn't have talent and hasn't had his moments, but he there's more bad than good. He's getting benched, and his bad is really bad.
And you just hit on it. And I believe I might have even used those terms when you got him. I watched him with the Nets. Terrific player, but he has moments. And then he's got games where it's like a disappearing act. And when they traded him to the Knicks, I didn't want to see him go to the Knicks. I didn't want to see, Brooklyn help New York. But when you see what the return was, it's like, all right, that's a haul. Even though the Knicks are going to be good, it's still a lot of picks. And he has not been. He's had games. He's had the Christmas Day game, for instance. The other night, was it Miami? I forget one of these recent games. He went off in one of these quarters, and he looks like a superstar. But then there are games you don't even realize he's on the floor. And that's problematic.
Yeah, and then there's the games where you realize he's on the floor because he's so bad and he can't make a shot. And then also, defensively, he could be really a liability, which shouldn't be.
Which is not what he's supposed to be.
It really should not be the case. I mean, he's one of the main reasons why they traded all those assets. Is they're thinking this guy's a two-way player. He's long. You could stick him on some of the better offensive players in the Eastern Conference and try to neutralize those guys. And he's not that guy. He is not the player that the Knicks thought that they were getting. And I think because there's so many other issues with the Knicks, he's flown under the radar early on in the season, and he's not flying under the radar anymore.
No, and as we get to the playoffs, he really isn't going to fly under the radar because he is going to be expected to come up big in, big spots, essentially, when you get to playoff time. And he just hasn't done it consistently all season long, and I don't know why that. The same way the Knicks have not played defense consistently this year, or really at all in a lot of cases, I don't know that it just changes because the calendar turns to the postseason. It's not that easy.
It kind of feels like the Yankees to me right now, the last couple of years, are definitely.
The Knicks do?
The Knicks right now, and it didn't happen for as long of a period of time, but it feels like to me like the Yankees in the Astros dynasty era, where it was like they're really good. Man, look how many games this team is winning, and they've got a great player, and their lineup is stacked, and they got Garrett Cole, but it's like, but can you beat the Astros? And that's basically what it was. And they never could.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do you process this? All right, you won your division, you advance to the ALCS, but then you get swept by the Astros. So who exactly are you? And I feel like that we're headed in that type of collision course with the Knicks.
And this year might be that. The shame of last year, and I know everyone's going to say everybody's banged up at the end of the season. Well, that's kind of not. Yeah, banged up, yes. Injured, no. It would have been. I'm no Knicks fan, but as a basketball fan, it would have been nice to see that team healthy last year because they played the type of basketball that I really do believe should have had them go deeper than they did. And that series with the Pacers really wasn't. I mean, come on. They were so not banged up, injured in that series. Last year would have been a good test to see it. The changes they make, they're a different team now. I don't know. The way the Celtics played them last time made you think that they are a notch below, and I did not believe that really all season long. I did not think that. I thought they could score with anybody, and I really did think they would defend better. And while they are still going to end up winning 50 games, kind of like you say, they're a really good team, but maybe just not, because it's not just the Celtics now. It's also the Cavaliers.
Yeah, it's interesting. When these stars would get together, when it first started, like the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen team, it worked every time. And then you had LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, and then that worked. And then you had Steph Curry. It was a little bit different because those guys were drafted there, but you had Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, bringing Kevin Durant. That worked. But lately, it has not been working. Like Kevin Durant going to the Nets doesn't work. Kevin Durant going to the Suns, there's something just off about that. And now you have the Knicks and this group that has been put together. You think they're going to be better just because they've added talent, and there's just something that's just like basketball is weird in that way. It used to be that the talent would always override, but in the Knicks case, it doesn't. Like you could say that they're more talented than probably 98% of the league.
They're 7 deep. I mean, they are a solid 7 deep. I would agree with that.
But it just isn't. It's not working the way that they thought it would.
Well, we have to see in the postseason. I do agree with you. It doesn't feel like it right now. But I also will give them the benefit of the doubt. If they go into the postseason healthy, maybe they do flip the switch. Maybe they do play better defense. A great test of what you're talking about is going to be how does Luka and LeBron, shape out in Los Angeles. Because right now it looks pretty damn good as LeBron at the age of 40 looks like he's 25. The fat drunk looks pretty good as he plays more and more and more in Los Angeles. And so while that's not quite putting together 3 or 4 stars, you added one superstar to one of the best we've ever seen. And so far, the early returns are pretty good out there.
I mean, I know that we don't care about the Dallas Mavericks here, but just think about this right now. What has happened to them?
Yeah, I know.
They go to the finals last year.
Yeah.
This year they come back. The fans are jacked up about the team because they went to the finals last year. They trade their all-world superstar away for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis comes there.
Plays great.
Yeah.
Plays great.
And then gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen him again.
Correct.
Okay. Then Kyrie Irving, the guy that is supposed to be the star of all stars for them.
Continued to play great.
Right. Tears his ACL.
Yeah.
And then they announced they're raising ticket prices.
8%.
I mean, what?
And then did you see the end of the world storms that Dallas had 2 days ago?
Oh, yeah, I know. It's really bad. We got some storms coming this way tonight.
Yeah.
Some heavy ones.
I did see that. You want to talk about a bad run.
Yeah.
Holy crap, if you are a Mavericks fan. I mean, it went from, as you say, trying to win an NBA final.
Yeah.
To just, what are we? Like, they are nothing.
Yeah, and that ownership change there probably has a lot to do with this.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, and it could work both ways. I mean, it worked really well with the Commanders in the NFL, and it's working the other way now with the Mavericks in the NBA.